With me now is Dr. Shameela Islam-Zulfiqar, one of the medics you saw in that report and who's taken part, of course, in those aid convoys through Syria's war zone. It's great to have you in. Thanks for coming to see us. You're taking enormous risks, as we saw from that report there. And you're going to areas where aid agencies themselves are not working. And they have security guards and they have the full infrastructure and everything to cope with the kind of problems that are developing over there. You're taking much bigger risks. Why?
I think the risks associated with any individual going, especially humanitarian aid workers, are going to be huge anyway. The way I see it, there's not enough being done within Syria to help the hundreds of thousands of people that are being killed, the millions of civilians, the refugees. There's not enough being done. And because the international aid agencies and the international community have been quite slow to really do something solid or concrete about it, other individuals like myself will just not be prepared to sit around and watch people die and watch people suffer, and that's why we do it.
Right, is that what you think the international community is doing, essentially, just sitting by, standing by while people are dying?
I think they've been very slow to mobilise when it's come to Syria, and I think many of the international aid agencies that have tried to establish safe humanitarian corridors inside Syria are all really harping on about the same thing, that we're not establishing those corridors, and this really needs to be looked at before we have, I mean, we already have the humanitarian catastrophe, I think, for the 21st century within Syria because of the millions of people that are affected.
But as you're travelling through those areas, and as we saw in that report, and some of the gunshots were going off around you, what were you thinking? What's going through your mind?
Well, we ended up in that area as we were travelling between hospitals. Obviously, it causes anxiety and it's worrying, and you naturally, as a human being, you'll fear for your life. But what we have to understand is there are millions of people living under these circumstances, and they're living through this every day. I mean, we go in for a snapshot, at a time. I've been in for my third convoy, and we're planning for the fourth convoy in December now. And every time we go in, it's different. It's different in different areas, and it's really, really important to just try and get the aid to where it needs to go to.
Do you have a family?
I do, yes.
And what do they think of you doing this?
Well, they're very supportive, and my family have actually been inside Syria as well. They went as part of the summer convoy, and they went in, they were in the refugee camps. I've had 4 teenagers, they were all inside, all distributing aid, and I think it really, with them having seen it, it gives them a first-hand...
They understand.
Yeah, they understand, and not only do they understand, I think they come to acknowledge how privileged lifestyles people outside of these situations have. We live in luxury where we are in comparison to some of the awful situation that these refugees are living in. No electricity, no running water in many places. There is no educational or healthcare structure left in much of Syria, and with that, naturally, there's a breakdown of society, really.
Sure, civil society has pretty much disappeared. What are the people that you encounter that you're helping, what are they saying about their plight and what their thoughts are about the international community and whether the outside world is doing enough to help them?
Well, much of the Syrian community, you'll find from any aid worker that goes in, the pattern is the same. They have nothing, but they will give you everything. They've given up waiting for the international community to come and help, really. In terms of what's happening on the ground, many of the civilians have taken up arms to protect themselves, and this is something that people need to understand. You can't, when it comes to the different groups that are on the ground there, some of them are just civilians that have taken to look after themselves because no help came for 2.5, 3 years. And that's really, really sad, especially when I have teenagers myself and I see teenagers that are of the same age that are bearing arms. They've just been forced to grow up in a society and a culture of guns and violence and death and dying. There are hardly any families in Syria that don't have a relative or somebody close to them that have been either injured, maimed or killed. And that's a real sad society, you know, thing to see in this day and age. We said that, you know, we would never again, these words ring hollow with the people of Syria, I think.
All right, we'll leave it there. Dr. Shameela Islam-Zulfiqar, it's great to have you in and get your perspective. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Thank you.